The opinions and views expressed by individuals during this broadcast are their own and may not be the opinions of this network, their group, or other organization they may be involved with.
I'm looking at myself, reflections of my mind. It's just the kind of day to leave myself behind. So gently swaying through the fairyland of love. If you'll just come with me, you'll see the beauty of Tuesday evening news. Tuesday evening
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Psychedelic Reporters. This Tuesday, the 20th, episode 158, here on NOK Network, the video news podcast focused on psychedelic medicine being reported in mainstream media. Shout out to the guys in Dead Ringer from Kirkland Lake, Ontario, for the awesome intro tag, originally recorded by the Moody Blues with some customized changes for our show. I am joined by my amazing joint host, Phil Ron McNabb, along with the one and only Bufo Alvarius, who has chosen all of our stories for us. Hello to Ron.
And hello, hobbies, and hello, everyone. And I'd like to introduce Bufo right here. And Bufo is the Sonoran desert toad, or also known as the Colorado mud toad, and he emits DMT from his skin. And park rangers would like to remind everyone to please don't lick the toad. So no licking toads, folks. No licking toads. Nope.
Even if you were a trained licker, I still advise that you don't lick a toad.
Right. No licking toads around here. So, anyways, hobbies. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. It was a great weekend, a great Monday, and now we're into Tuesday.
We are, and yeah, it's been a busy week for me. I've been busy gardening, and now I'm busy here doing my second show of the day, getting ready to do my third show in a couple of hours. So busy day around here.
Amen for being busy, though, man. Thanks for all you do for here in the network, man.
You're welcome.
Hey, so our first article that Bufo has chosen comes out of KSN.com. And KSN.com states that Psychedelic Science 2025 presents cinematic. How do you say that? Cinematic?
I would say cinematic.
Oh, okay. Celebration of psychedelic cinema. And this is news provided by Psychedelic Science 2025. You want to start us out, Ron?
Sure, I will do that. And there's a couple of points here to begin with. It's a 4-day film program to showcase visionary storytelling, healing journeys, consciousness exploration, sacred stories, and the expanding role of psychedelics in culture and science. Featured films include In Waves and War, Of Night and Light, the story of Iboga and Ibogaine, Swamp Dog Gets His Pool Painted, When the Smoke Clears, and more. And the story goes on here to say Psychedelic Science, the premier global gathering for psychedelic research, medicine, policy, and culture hosted by the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, also known as MAPS, announces I guess it's Cinemathic. I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Cinemathic.
Yeah, I like
A
that.
celebration of psychedelic cinema, a 4-day curated film program taking place June 16th to June 19th, 2025, in Denver, Colorado, as part of Psychedelic Science 2025, or also known as PS 2025. Cinemathic will transport audiences into the heart of the psychedelic experience, on screen and beyond. Cinemathic will explore the profound relationship between film, altered states of consciousness, and the psychedelic movement, offering a dynamic lineup of screenings, filmmaker discussions, and immersive storytelling experiences. From visionary animations and experimental documentaries to in-depth explorations of psychedelic-assisted therapy, this program will highlight the role of cinema in shaping the modern psychedelic renaissance. Film has long been a portal for exploring consciousness, conveying the ineffable, and sharing stories that challenge and inspire. With Cinemathic, Psychedelic Science 2025 is bringing together filmmakers, film subjects, creators, and audiences to experience the power of cinema in translating the psychedelic experience into art and narrative. That's according to Lucy Lerner, Cinemathic curator and producer of Psychedelic Science 2025. Very cool.
It is. Cinemathic programming and featured screenings. Cinemathic will feature a collection of short film screenings on Monday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m., followed by a feature film and special presentations starting at 6 p.m. The 3 daily screening blocks, 11, 3, and 7, from Tuesday through Thursday. The program will include approximately 20 films featuring feature-length documentaries exploring the science, history, and cultural impact of psychedelics. Short films and experimental works that push the boundaries of perception and storytelling. Episodic series and works in progress offering a glimpse into the future of psychedelic media. Exclusive filmmaker Q&As, panel discussions, and interactive. The full schedule and final film list will be announced later this month. Visit psychedelicscience.org to view the full conference schedule, register, and explore hotel travel options. Featured films and directors. This year's Cinemathic lineup will showcase visionary directors and groundbreaking films illuminating the psychedelic experience. Select titles include 30 Pictures, directed by Etienne Select, a deep dive into the life of work of Alexander Sasa Shulgin, the chemist behind over 200 psychedelic compounds, including MDMA, examining the tension between scientific innovation and societal boundaries. In Waves and War, directed by John Shank and Bonnie Cohen. The emotional journey of a Navy SEAL facing severe PTSD and a breakthrough psychedelic assisted therapy that offered him a lifetime. Sneak peek. Have a good trip too. Directed by Dominic Carey. A preview of the sequel to the Netflix documentary on psychedelics, exploring the next 50 years of psychedelic promise and storytelling. Wow, these are pretty good, cool sounding, dude.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah. And the next one is John Lilly and the Earth Coincidence Control Office, directed by Courtney Stevens and Michael Almereda, an essay film exploring consciousness through the radical life and dolphin experiments of psychonaut John C. Lilly of Night and The story of Iboga and Ibogaine, directed by Lucy Walker, a groundbreaking look at the discovery, cultural resistance, and scientific validation of Ibogaine as a powerful treatment for addiction and trauma. Patty, Are You Bringing Weed In from Jamaica? Directed by Matthew Salton, the 1968 true story of a young flight attendant caught smuggling 900 pounds of marijuana and the wild consequences that follow. Psychedelics, Stepping into the Unknown, directed by Chris Phillips. A world-first clinical psychedelic trial unfolds in Australia, capturing the hopes of participants and the potential for groundbreaking mental health treatments. And the next one here is Santa is a Psychedelic Mushroom, directed by Matthew Salton, an animated short reimagining Santa Claus through the lens of Arctic shamanism and mushroom folklore. These are really cool.
It is. Sneak peek, Prophet of Ecstasy, directed by Elias Varut. So the story of Michael Clegg, the former Catholic priest turned MDMA kingpin, tracing the arc of ecstasy through criminalization, spirituality, and cultural resurgence. I still want to watch that, dude.
Right?
Well, my bad. It's spreading the spores from global stages to inner spaces, presented by Louis Schwartzberg. A visionary journey from psychedelic festivals to clinical trials examining how visual storytelling and psilocybin reshape global consciousness. Swamp Dog gets his pool painted. Oh, that's cool. Directed by Isaac Dale and Ryan Olsen, a vibrant portrait of legendary cult musician Swamp Dog and his artistic household deep in suburban Los Angeles. Huh. This is really cool. Oh, Psychedelic Puppets! Directed by Brad Nex. A series of surreal shorts featuring puppet-led explorations of psychedelic history and theory, including the birth of LSD, the stack and psychedelic puppets, the stone puppets theory, and the Psychedelic Puppet Show presents All Statement Rick Dublin. Dude.
How cool is that? How cool is that? That's wicked. That's wicked. I knew you'd like that. So, anyways, we'll carry on here. The Way of the Psychonaut, Stanislav Grof, and the Journey of Consciousness, directed by Susan Hess Logie, a documentary portrait of Stan Grof's pioneering work in psychedelic therapy and its transformative power. The next one is This Is Where I Find Myself, directed by Andrew Hinton. As researcher Roland Griffiths faces terminal cancer, he turns inward using the very psychedelic science he helped bring to the world. The next one, Unraveling the Dream, Psychedelics, Meditation, and the Predictive Brain, directed by Jake Orthwine, a sweeping meditation on neuroscience, ego dissolution, and the challenge of building a culture around self-transcendence. The next one is When the Smoke Clears, directed by Misha Schwartz and Myra Zafar. Two first responders seek psychedelic healing in Mexico after exhausting conventional treatments in the U.S. The final one here is Wild Magic, directed by Sean Dunn, a mystical road trip across America capturing the enchantment and unseen magic in everyday life. And there's a little blurb here about psychedelic science. Psychedelic Science 2025, or PS 2025, hosted by the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, also known as MAPS, is the world's leading psychedelic conference, returning to the Colorado Convention Center in Denver from June 16th to 20th, 2025. This 5-day event brings together a global community of scientists, therapists, policymakers, cultural leaders, and advocates to explore the forefront of psychedelic research, therapy, and culture. Facilitated by Superfly, known for producing iconic events such as Bonnaroo and Outside Lands, PS 2025 will feature expert speakers, hands-on workshops, community events with art, music, and mindfulness activities, and scholarship opportunities to support broad participation. Since its inception in 2010, so the Psychedelic Science Conference series has fostered knowledge sharing, collaboration, and community building within the psychedelic ecosystem. Join thousands of attendees as we explore the transformative potential of psychedelics and shape the future of mental health, policy, and cultural understanding. For more information and registration details, visit psychedelicscience.org and follow us on X, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. And there's also a quick little blurb about MAPS. They were founded in 1986. They are a 501c3 nonprofit research and educational organization that develops medical, legal, and cultural context for people to benefit from the careful uses of psychedelics and marijuana. And MAPS conference flagship, Psychedelic Science, has been the leading convening of the psychedelic community since 2010. And MAPS incubated Lycos Therapy, a drug development public benefit company, and the Zendo Project, a leader in the psychedelic harm reduction. Since MAPS was founded, donors and grantors have given more than $150 million to advance research, change drug policy, and evolve education in the field of psychedelics. So that sounds like a really, really cool event.
Oh man, I was just
Wow.
the whole time we were reading that, I was like, dude, if the puppet had the bank to be able to drive out there to Colorado, go and experience this, get all whole kick ass of footage. My last 6 months of shows would have scenes from those 5 days, dude. You know,
I know. That'd be so freaking awesome.
Yeah, you could get a couple of shows out of going to something like that.
Right. So this is an
experience. Yeah.
Is this an annual thing, or is?
I believe it is. Last year, I think we read something. Something kind of. I don't know, but I don't remember the movie. So I think this is new. This is.
So maybe next year, if it can't happen this year for you, maybe next year. You never know.
Yeah, hopefully this
cool.
year. Yeah, that's only 35 days, man. Don't knock it out.
I know anything can happen. Never say never, right?
Yeah,
never say never. Anyways, we're gonna move on to our next article, right? There we go.
Yeah, next article comes out of futurism.com, and it's Neoscope and scientists tweaked LSD's molecular structure and created a wild new brain drug. It is a compound, could be a game changer. Now, we covered this. This is by Victor Tangerine. We covered a little bit about this last week with Tara, but here's another perspective. Yeah. Anyone start out there?
Yeah, because there can be many different aspects. I sure can, yeah. A team of researchers at the University of California, Davis made small tweaks to the molecular structure. Hold on. I got an ad there. There we go. Of lysergic acid diethylamide, or LSD, to see if it could be turned into an effective brain healing treatment for patients that suffer from conditions like schizophrenia without risking a potential disastrous acid trip. As detailed in a new paper published by the journal Proceedings of National Academy of Sciences last month, the researchers created a new compound called JRT by shifting the position of just 2 atoms of the psychedelic's molecular structure. With the 2 atoms flipped, the drug could still stimulate brain cell growth and repair damaged neural connections while simultaneously minimizing psychedelic effects in mice. Basically, what we did here is a tire rotation, said corresponding author and UC Davis chemistry professor David Olson in a statement. By just transposing 2 atoms in LSD, we significantly improved JRT's selectivity profile and reduced its hallucinogenic potential. In experiments involving mice, the team found that JRT improved negative symptoms of schizophrenia without worsening other behaviors associated with psychosis. And while it's far too early to tell if JRT could be effective in humans as well, the team is hoping that the new drug could become a powerful new therapeutic, especially for those suffering from conditions like schizophrenia. No one really wants to give a hallucinogenic molecule like LSD to a patient with schizophrenia, said Olson. The development of JRT emphasizes that we can use psychedelics like LSD as starting points to make better medicines.
We may be able to create medications that can be used in patient populations where psychedelic use is precluded, he added. Olson and his colleagues hope their new drug could provide an alternative to drugs like clozapine, schizophrenia treatment without the negative side effects like an inability to feel pleasure and a decline in cognitive function. Interestingly, it is also proved the powerful antidepressant in early experiments involving mice at doses 100-fold lower than ketamine, a popular anesthetic used for treatment of depression and pain management. But before it can be tested in humans, the team still has plenty of work to do. The JRT has extremely high therapeutic potential, also said in the statement. Right now, we are testing in other disease models, improving its synthesis and creating new analogs of JRT that might be even better. I like that article. I remember last week I had a problem with it because of the mice, but I mean that's just me, because then you got to get into humans, and you may be looking at different results.
Right. So, yeah, it's cool the new stuff that you got going on there with all that. So we'll be following up with that, and I guess we're going over to our
this is what I really
story
enjoy.
here.
So, yes. So this is pbs.org, and I'm a big fan of PBS because they try to stay the most unbiased out of all the news facility manufacturers. Right. And this is written by Michelle R. Smith from the Associated Press. And it's Trump's new Surgeon General nominee praises unproven psychedelic therapy. And this was written on May 14th. In Providence, Rhode Island. Want to start us out, buddy?
Sure, I can do that. President Donald Trump's new pick for Surgeon General wrote in a recent book that people should consider using unproven psychedelic drugs as therapy, and in a newsletter suggested her use of mushrooms helped her find a romantic partner. Dr. Casey Means' recommendation to consider guided psilocybin-assisted therapy is notable because psilocybin is illegal under federal law. It's listed as a Schedule I drug defined as a substance with no currently accepted medical use and a high potential for abuse. Oregon and Colorado have legalized psychedelic therapy, though several cities in Oregon have since banned it. The Surgeon General's job is to provide Americans with the best scientific information available on how to improve their health and reduce their risks of illness and injury. Past Surgeons General have used their position to educate Americans about health problems like AIDS and suicide prevention. The Surgeon General's warning in 1964 about the dangers of smoking helped change the course of America's health. And some, like Dr. C. Everett Koop, Surgeon General under President Ronald Reagan, became widely known with substantial impact on policy, and others slipped easily from memory.
Means nomination follows a pattern from Trump to select people known for their public personas more than their policy positions. In the case of Means, the Republican president said he chose her solely on the recommendation of Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Bobby thought she was fantastic, Trump said, adding that he did not know her. Means, who received her undergraduate and medical degrees from Stanford University, began a medical residency in Oregon, but did not complete it. Her medical license is completed or is listed as inactive. Contacted by phone Means declined to comment on the record. She made the recommendation about psychedelics in her 2024 book, Good Energy, which she wrote with her brother, Callie Means, an entrepreneur who now works in the Trump administration as a health advisor and who said he invested in biopharmaceutical companies that specialize in psychedelics. Much of the book focuses on metabolic health, what Casey Means calls good energy. He suggests a number of strategies to help people manage and heal the stressors, traumas, and thought patterns that limit us and contribute to our more poor metabolic health and thriving. Wow.
Yeah, one such strategy is to consider psilocybin-assisted therapies, referring to the compound found in psychedelic mushrooms. She details her thinking on the subject in a 750-word passage. If you feel called, I also encourage you to explore intentional, guided psilocybin therapy, she wrote. Strong scientific evidence suggests that this psychedelic therapy can be one of the most meaningful experiences of life for some people, as they have been for me. Though there have been some studies suggesting benefits from psychedelics, it has not been shown that benefits outweigh the risks. Psilocybin can cause hours of hallucinations that can be pleasant or terrifying. When paired with talk therapy, it has been studied as a treatment for psychiatric conditions and alcoholism. But very little research has been done in healthy people. Side effects can include increased heart rate, nausea, and headaches. Taking it unsupervised can be dangerous. Hallucinations could cause a user to walk into traffic or take other risks. Means wrote that psilocybin and other psychedelics have been stigmatized. She touted the benefits of MDMA, also known as ecstasy or Molly, for helping people with post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD. The Food and Drug Administration last year declined to approve the use of MDMA as a therapy for PTSD after a panel of advisors found the research was flawed and there were significant risks in using it.
Means refers to psychedelics in her books as plant medicine. She describes how she took mushrooms for the first time around January 1st, 2021, after she was inspired by an internal voice that whispered it's time to prepare. I felt myself as part of an infinite and unbroken series of cosmic nesting dolls of millions of mothers and babies before me from the beginning of life, she wrote, adding that in her experience, psilocybin can be a doorway to a different reality that is free from limiting beliefs of my ego, feelings, and personal history. In a newsletter she published in October, Means said she had also used psychedelics to help her make space to find love at 35. She wrote that she did plant medicine experiences with trusted guides to become ready for partnership, punctuating the line with a mushroom emoji. She noticed she was necessarily making recommendations that others do the same. In a post this month about her White House health policy wish list, Means said she wanted more nutritious food served in schools, suggested putting warning labels on ultra-processed foods, called for investigations into vaccine safety, and said she wanted to remove conflicts of interest. She did not specifically mention psychedelics, But she said that researchers have little incentive to study generic, natural, and non-patentable drugs and therapies, and that a portion of research budgets should be devoted to alternative approaches to health. Wow.
Yeah, Callie Means has also advocated for the use of psychedelic drugs, writing in a 2021 blog post that he first tried psilocybin during a challenging time in his life, and it was the single most meaningful experience of my life, personally, professionally, and spiritually. He said in 2022 that he had sold all of my 401k and bought stocks in 2 companies that are developing and researching psychedelics. He did not respond to messages seeking comment. Casey Means' confirmation hearing has not been scheduled, and Trump chose Means after questions were raised about the resume of his first pick for Surgeon General. Former Fox News medical contributor, Jeanette Neshewat, and he withdrew her nomination. And the Associated Press medical writer Carla K. Johnson in Washington State and AP writer Ali Swenson in New York contributed to this report. So there you go, folks.
You know, I'm always interested when the panels switch out and the politics get flipped around like that. And
right.
You get new seats, and I mean, you've had for cannabis, you had like surgeon generals that like make cartoons to get rid of the hippie element. You know, like. So, I mean, in the past, there has been weird surgeon general shit to control the populace. And this now with her, and I don't know, man. It almost like they wanted to paint a little target on her, like she wasn't qualified. But I'm like, hey, she's actually thinking outside of the box, which may make her qualified to work what's in the house right now.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Well. We'll see.
It's medication. Well, wait. You can finish what you're saying, dude.
No. I was done. I was already done. I was done.
Okay. Well, hey, it's medication time.
That's right, and it's time to pay some bills, folks. So stay tuned for a word from some of our sponsors, and we will return with more articles that Bufo has chosen, making mainstream media news.
Back in 4 minutes and 20 seconds here on Psychedelic Network, or Psychedelic Reporters on NOK Network.
Cheers.
Hey, hi, my name is John Mark, aka Sublimator Warrior, and I would like to welcome you to Smoke Signal in Tyndinaga.
One dab make your whole dome drip sweat. One dab make the homies all dip set. One dab, only really need one dab. One dab.
Smoke Signal is a medical dispensary where you can get all your products and needs.
Start vaping a whole bunch. Might just start laying off the blunts. God. Ooey, ooey, gooey, that's a sticky dab. Sticky dab. Might just have to put this one on Instagram. Go and hold it in, feel it in your ribs.
So come and check us out in Tyndinaga. 55 Highway 49 in Tyndinaga. It's on the res, and we're open from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week.
Are you a Northern Ontario resident searching for credible information on cannabis as a medicine? No Sir is here to help. Established in 2013, Northern Ontario Cannabis Education and Resources is here for you. No Sir Director Kim Cooper brings you 45 plus years experience utilizing cannabis as a medicine, and she is spreading that education across the North. Activism, referrals, resources, and more at No Sir. Don't be a jackass. Say no, sir, to propaganda with No Sir. Find them at www.nocer.ca.
Advertising space available at NOK. Contact us for a rate sheet at NOKNetwork.com.
Dudes and dudettes, enjoy the show, man.
And we're back from our medication session live on Psychedelic Reporters here on NOK Network.
And we have another set of stories at you, coming at you from the realm of psychedelic medicine. So let's get at it.
Let's get at it. Right, here we go.
All right, our next article comes off of SciPost.org. And it says, inhaled DMT produces rapid and lasting antidepressant effects in treatment-resistant depression. Written by Eric Dolan.
Very cool. Very cool. A new study published in Neuropsychopharmacology has found that inhaled N,M-dimethyltryptamine, or DMT, a fast-acting psychedelic compound, produced rapid and sustained antidepressant effects in people with treatment-resistant depression. Participants reported major reductions in depression and suicidal thoughts within a day of dosing, with benefits lasting up to 3 months. The therapy was safe, well tolerated, and may offer a more accessible alternative to existing treatments. DMT is a naturally occurring psychedelic compound found in certain plants and also produced in small amounts in the human body. It is best known as the main psychoactive ingredient in the Amazonian brew ayahuasca, but unlike ayahuasca, which requires co-administration of substances that prolong its effects, vaporized DMT acts quickly and clears the system within about 20 minutes. Because of its short duration and inhalation delivery, DMT has attracted interest as a potential more scalable and less disruptive option for psychedelic therapy. The researchers aimed to investigate whether this compound could offer fast, lasting relief for people with depression who have not responded to traditional treatments. My team and I have been studying psychedelics, especially ayahuasca and DMT, for almost 20 years now, said study author Draulio Barros do Arajo. I don't know. I probably butchered that name, but anyways, a professor of neuroscience at the Brain Institute at Federal University of Rio Grande do Norte and director of the Center for Advanced Medical Psychedelics. Very cool stuff.
What? Yeah, it is. It is. What caught our attention with vaporized DMT is how it offers such a deep and intense psychedelic experience in a very short window of time. We were curious to see whether such a brief intervention, when supported properly, could still make a meaningful difference for people struggling with treatment-resistant depression. A study focused on individuals with treatment-resistant depression, a severe form of depression that does not improve after trying at least 2 different antidepressant medications. 14 adults were recruiting through online ads, clinician referrals, and a word of mouth. All met criteria for moderate to severe depression and had fallen to respond to or failed to respond to multiple prior medications. Participants received 2 doses of inhaled DMT in a controlled hospital setting, a lower dose of 15 milligrams followed by a higher dose of 60 milligrams about 90 minutes later. Both sessions occurred on the same day and were accompanied by preparation and integration support from trained clinicians. Participants inhaled DMT using a medical-grade vaporizer. During their experience, they lay back in a quiet room with dim lighting and calming music while being monitored by a psychiatrist, psychologist, and a nurse. The team measured participant vital signs, mood, and subjective experience before, during, and after the session. Clinical assessments took place immediately after dosing. Then at 1 day, 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month, 3 months later, the researchers found that depression symptoms measured by the Montgomery-Åsberg Depression Rating Scale dropped significantly within 24 hours. Treatment, on average, scores fell 21 points, enough to shift many patients from a range of severe depression to mild and even minimal symptoms. About 79% of participants responded to the treatment and by day 1, and 71% achieved full remission. By day 7, the response rate close to nearly 86%, more than half of participants remained in remission, and even after 3 months, 57% still showed a meaningful response, and 36% remained in remission despite receiving no further DMT. Ooh.
One of the most surprising aspects was just how consistently strong the clinical response was, even though the DMT experience itself only lasts about 10 to 20 minutes, D'Araujo told SciPost. Many participants not only reported emotional breakthroughs during the session, but also experienced lasting changes in mood and outlook from just a single dose. That's not something we typically see with most psychiatric interventions. In addition to easing depressive symptoms, inhaled DMT also sharply reduced suicidal thoughts. Nearly 90% of participants had suicidal ideation at the start of the study, almost half considered to be at severe risk. 1 day after treatment, no participants showed severe suicidal ideation. Improvements in suicidality were maintained in most participants through the 3-month follow-up. Notably, the reduction in suicidal thoughts closely tracked with improvements in mood, suggesting that the anti-suicidal effect was related to the overall antidepressant impact. Scrolling down here, subjective reports indicated that the DMT experience was intense but generally positive. Participants described vivid imagery, altered perception, and insightfulness. with most rating the experience as pleasant. Physiological measurements showed temporary increases in blood pressure and heart rate shortly after dosing, similar to what might occur during moderate exercise, but no serious adverse side effects were reported. The most common side effects were throat irritation and coughing from inhalation, which resolved quickly. Headaches and mild discomfort were reported by some participants the following day.
Interestingly, the intensity of the psychedelic experience did not predict treatment outcome. Again, it did not predict the treatment outcome. While some participants had mystical or highly visual experiences, the researchers found new strong statistical links between specific features of the trip and clinical improvements. This suggests that the therapeutic effects of DMT might not depend on achieving a particular type of altered state. However, one measure, complex visual imagery, did show a trend toward association with better outcomes, echoing past research on psychedelics like ayahuasca and psilocybin. One of the most promising aspects of the treatment is particularity. Unlike some longer acting psychedelics like psilocybin or LSD, which require several hours for each session, vaporized DMT produces its effects in 20 minutes. The entire protocol, including screening, preparation, dosing, and integration, and can be completed in a single day. This has important implications for making psychedelic assisted therapy more affordable and scalable, especially in public health systems with limited resources. The main takeaway is that even an ultra short psychedelic experience, when delivered in a safe and supportive setting, can lead to rapid and sustained improvements in depression. Perhaps more importantly, we saw significant reduction in suicidal ideation in many participants within 24 hours, and those effects were still present months later. This suggests that DMT assisted therapy might offer less fast acting relief, which could be especially valuable in urgent clinical situations. Well, these results are encouraging. The study has limitations. It was open label, meaning both participants and researchers knew they were receiving DMT, which raises the possibility of placebo effects. The sample size was full or was small, and the findings need to be confirmed in larger randomized controlled trials. In addition, the researchers did not collect pharmacokinetic data to measure how much DMT was actually absorbed, which limits conclusion about the dose-response relationship. Some participants had minor fluctuations in symptoms over time, and one experienced a relapse in suicidality, underscoring the need for follow-up care. This was a phase 2 open-label study with a placebo group, and the number of participants were small. Roja noted, we have to be cautious in how we interpret the results. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, future studies will need to compare DMT directly with placebo and other treatments, test repeated dosing regimens, and examine how integration sessions contribute to long-term outcomes. Better understanding of how individual differences such as prior psychedelic use, expectations, or co-occurring medication affect results will also help tailor treatments. Monitoring for rare but serious side effects, including cardiovascular changes, will be essential as researchers scale up trials. From the beginning, our goal has been to develop a model of psychedelic-assisted therapy that fits within clinical, ethical, and economic boundaries, DeRajos explained. We believe that treatments that are overly long or expensive will face serious obstacles when it comes to integration into health systems, especially in countries like Brazil, where resources are limited and access is a real concern. In that sense, the vaporized DMT protocol we designed seems like a promising balance. It's efficient, potentially scalable and still therapeutically meaningful. Going forward, we aim to refine this model and test it in larger controlled trials, always with a focus on safety, accessibility, and real-world feasibility. This work is part of a larger movement, one that's challenging old assumptions and inviting us to reimagine healthcare through the lens of altered states of consciousness. Psychedelics are not a magic bullet, but they can offer powerful tools when approached with scientific rigor, cultural sensitivity, and genuine care for the human experience. It's been incredibly meaningful to witness how these experiences can reconnect people with themselves and sometimes even bring hope back into the view. The study rapid and sustained antidepressant effects of vaporized and dimethyltryptamine, a phase 2 clinical trial in treatment-resistant depression, was authored by Marcelo Falchi Carvalho, Fernando Pajano Fontes, Isabel Weibner, Henderson Barros, Raynara Bolcont, Sophie Laborde, Sergio Russi B. Silva, Daniel Montanini, David C. Barbosa, Yuritin Texera, Rodrigo Florent Villa, Reza Almeida, Rosanna K. A. Macedo, Flavia Erichal, Erica J. Pantrigo, Jose V. Costa Macedo. I didn't realize this was a whole bunch of names. I'm not going to keep reading the names. It's a whole bunch of other names there that were the authors of the article. So there you go.
Well, that was a
end,
pretty
right?
cool article. Vaporized DMT.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that before, and now I have.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff's going on with psychedelics, man. And to jump right back to our yeah, man. It's and right away. Now in Florida, dude, like with marijuanamoment.net, they're talking about how DeSantis signs bill to criminalize psychedelic mushroom spores in Florida, and that's going to be more testing that researchers. This is written by Tara.
Oh yeah.
Hill.
Yeah, this is crazy. Yeah, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, Republican, has signed a wide-ranging agricultural bill passed by the legislature that contains, among other provisions, a new prohibition on the spores of psychedelic mushrooms. The governor, who previously signaled that he would approve the anti-psilocybin legislation SB 700 from Senator Keith Trudeau, Republican, formally did so on Thursday. The psychedelic mushroom spore ban is just one provision of the roughly 150-page agricultural bill, which contains a new ban on local governments from adding fluoride to drinking water, an issue that dominated debate as the proposal made its way through the legislature. With respect to psychedelic mushrooms, the new law outlaws transporting, importing, selling, or giving away spores or mycelium capable of producing mushrooms or other material which will contain a controlled substance, including psilocybin or psilocin, during its life cycle. Violating the proposed law will be a first-degree misdemeanor carrying a maximum 1 year in jail and a $1,000 fine. Crazy shit.
It is, man. And SB 700 will also make a variety of adjustments around Florida's agricultural lands, utilities, and wildlife management. Psilocybin and psilocin are two main psychoactive compounds in psychedelic mushrooms. Although spores themselves typically do not contain psilocybin and psilocin, they eventually produce fruiting bodies, mushrooms, and they do contain the psychedelic compound. Because the spores don't contain any controlled substances, the federal government deems them legal. If the mushroom spore or any other material do not contain psilocybin or psilocin or any other controlled substance or listed chemical, the material is considered not controlled. Terrace Booz, the Drug Enforcement Administration's DA Drug and Chemical Evaluation Section Chief, said in a memo last year. Booz said that marijuana seeds are considered federally legal hemp because they themselves do not contain THC. Wow.
Right. In Florida, a legislative report for HB 651, a House companion bill to the measure now signed by DeSantis, similarly notes that spores do not contain any psilocybin properties themselves and therefore could be considered legal under current law. To prevent that, the new law clarifies as illegal any spores or mycelium that could produce psilocybin or psilocin at any time in their development. As for psilocybin and psilocin themselves, the substances were already illegal in Florida. Simple possession is a third-degree felony, carrying up to 5 years in prison and a $5,000 fine. A legislative report for SB 700 notes that psychedelic mushrooms became popular in the United States during the 1960s when American researchers first studied their healing properties and medical applications. Now they are listed as a Schedule I controlled substance by the U.S. government, meaning they have no accepted medical use. It doesn't belong there, but because anyways, whatever. It further says that any material, compound, mixture, or preparation that contains the hallucinogenic substance known as psilocybin has potential for abuse and is not currently accepted as medical treatment in the United States. The successful enactment of the psychedelic mushroom spore ban into law comes as several measures to expand medical cannabis access died in the Florida legislature this session, and lawmakers also failed to advance a proposal to restrict intoxicating hemp products to an enactment this year. Meanwhile, DeSantis recently signed a separate bill into law, will create hurdles for advocates aiming to put ballot initiatives before voters, including potentially the renewed effort to legalize marijuana in the state.
Yeah, among other requirements, the law mandates posting 1 million bond before commencing signature gathering, prohibits the use of out-of-state non-citizen petitioners, and narrows the window during which signatures must be submitted to election officials. Its sponsor, Representative Jennifer Republican, contends the ballot initiative process has been taken over by out-of-state fraudsters looking to make a quick buck and by special interest intent on buying their way into our Constitution. Critics said the new changes will impede Floridians' ability to have their voices heard. One group, hopefully to qualify a measure that would expand Medicaid in the state, has already sued the DeSantis administration over the new law. The new obstacles to placing a proposal on the statewide ballot come on the heels of two contentious constitutional amendments that went before voters last year, including one, an Amendment 3, that would have legalized marijuana for 21 and older, and another on abortion rights. The campaign for marijuana measures, Spartan Safe Florida, took in more than $150 million in campaign funds, with most from large cannabis companies such as Trulieve, a multi-state operator, and contributed tens of millions of dollars. It also clashed with DeSantis as well as the state Republican Party, the latter of which Spartan Safe Florida later sued for allegedly deceiving voters about the measure. The cannabis campaign recently joined organizations focused on other issues in litigation against the new ballot restriction. After Amendment 3 last year failed to win the 60% voter needed to pass constitutional amendments, Spartan State Florida is now aiming to put a revised legalization proposal on the 2026 state ballot. Under the new law, the signatures collected before enactment would not be subjected to revised restrictions. Smart and Safe Florida has so far submitted just under the 220,016 valid signatures needed to trigger a judicial and financial impact review of the proposal. Wow.
Yeah. A total of 880,062 valid signatures statewide are currently needed to make the 2026 ballot, according to the Florida Division of Elections. Meanwhile, in Florida, state elections officials recently sent a cease and desist letter to Smart and Safe Florida campaign, alleging that the group has committed multiple election law violations. The Office of Elections, Crime and Security, OECS, part of Florida's Department of State, also fined Smart and Safe Florida more than $120,000 for submitting completed petitions more than 30 days after they were signed. The issue was referred to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement for potential criminal investigation, and in a statement to Marijuana Moment at the time, a campaign representative said it has confidence in the process and intends to push back on the state's assertion it violated election law. These claims made appear to be targeted made appear to be a targeted effort to thwart the ability for the people of Florida to express their support for citizen-driven amendment. The statement says, "We stand by the process and had legal counsel vet all forms and communications prior to mailing and look forward to challenging the validity of these claims." Wow. So there you go.
Very, 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 very interesting, I do say. Where do you find us on the time? Do we have a time for another one? I mean, it's already an hour and 1 minute. The last article, maybe we do next week.
Yeah, we could do that one next week, I think. I think so.
Okay.
Or
okay.
it's not. It's up to you. It's not very long. We can do it or not. It's up to you.
Oh, I'm fine with that. Hey.
All right.
I'm pulling my lines. Hold on. Oh, here we go. Thank you for joining us here on Psychedelic Reporters on NOK Network, and for tuning into our video podcast on NOK Network's Rumble and YouTube pages, as well as our social media sites.
And we hope you enjoyed your update on mainstream media coverage of psychedelic medicine advancements from around the globe.
Many thanks to our sponsors and to my joint host, Ron McNabb, and Buffalo Berries for making this show possible. And to you, our listeners, for joining each week on Psychedelic Tuesdays. Let's hear from Dead Rigger from Kirkland Lake on our way out.
All right. Good night, everyone, and cheers.
Woo-hoo-hoo! Reflections of my mind. It's just the kind of day to leave myself behind. So gently swaying through the fairyland of love. If you'll just come with me, you'll see the beauty of